Thank you so much, everyone. It's been over 2 weeks now since the Inspector General of Police disbanded the Mbato Special Anti-Robbery Squad, popularly called SARS, and a new tactical unit set up named SWAT appears to have gotten a boost for its operations. The new police unit called Special Weapons and Tactics Unit, SWAT, have begun its training. The development is coming after many young Nigerians began an online agitation over police brutality and high-handedness of some of the officials of the SWAT team, which then got onto the street, and it became a very nationwide protest. But how far are the plans for this new initiative and the agitations of Nigerians? Let's speak with the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight on the program. We've seen some videos of the training of this SWAT team, and perhaps we should clear some, getting clarity on some of the issues that are brought on the table. How many altogether? Because we understand that we have different the different groups in different. We have about 4 training centers altogether. How many are the SWAT members or the officers? How many are they altogether?
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Ocean. I want to also thank the management of Channels Television for giving me this opportunity, for creating this platform for me to come and talk about these very important issues that are very dear to my ministry and to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. I thank you very much for that. To go straight to the question that you are asking, I'm sure you must have seen that I was in Ende Hills about 2 days ago. I visited the training school and I met the trainees. I think the trainees there are about 1,200, and they have about, I think, about 10 days now, and are going this training exercise.
So, I mean, from the one in Nasarawa, because we understand that there are other centers, so the one in Nasarawa has about 1,000, is it?
Yes.
But what about the others? What about the others in other centers? How many do we have generally altogether?
We have about 4,000 altogether, and the remaining participants are in Osun State and are going a similar training.
So the videos that we have seen, Honorable Minister, show the physical training the new SWAT team are undergoing. But how are you in their training addressing the problem of ethics? Because that was one of the issues that got Nigerians agitated, and the attitudes of the police towards the public, which is a salient concern of many Nigerians.
You see, these are issues that are already embodied in the reforms that we are going to conduct, or are going to engage ourselves into. The issue that actually brought about this End SARS protests are issues of overdoing the activities of the SARS unit that was disbanded. Like you also said, they have to do with ethics. They also have to do with the orientation and the behavior of the officers who are in charge in these activities. So what we are trying to do now is, in the course of the training, we are trying to teach the SWAT trainees the need to ensure that they appreciate the fact that they are there out to protect Nigerians, and we expect them to be good ambassadors of the police family wherever they are, and we expect them also to show a very high sense of decorum, to show a lot of humility, to appreciate the fact that they are there to protect the people they are working for. I think this is very important, and we have always said it, And we have asked our instructors to continue to educate and remind these trainees that these are the jobs that should be on top of the gear when they find themselves in the places they are going to be posted.
So, Honorable Minister, please tell us the speed at which the NSAS was disbanded, and a few days later, we saw that the Inspector General had announced that there is another tactical team, and they are going to be going on the training. Is the syllabus of the training, is it all already in the training manual of the Nigerian Police Training School, or this is a new training the syllabus altogether? Because if it's a new tactical team, that means that it's a new orientation generally.
No, you see, many people have expressed the view that you have expressed. But we need to understand one thing. This issue of security is at every hour there. And we have to take steps to ensure that we fill in the gap. And that is why we quickly went ahead to establish a new unit that will replace SARS. And to do this, they have to undergo this kind of training. And we don't see any rush or any harm in going ahead to set up the new unit, because you have to do it, and we need to do it as quickly as we can to ensure that this gap is filled in, because the assignment being conducted by SARS before they were disbanded is there to be performed by somebody. So we need to quicken the process to ensure that there is a unit in place that is in charge of these things. But we cannot just take them to the field to fill in the gap without training them and without giving them the new reorientation, without giving them the new rules, the new order, so that they don't go and repeat the same mistakes that SARS have done.
So, training on one hand, so let's get it clearly, Honorable Minister. So their training, or the module for their training, is an existing training that you have already in your system.
You see, no model is static. Of course, there is a model for the training because the functions are almost similar. But we need to take cognizance of what is happening in the 21st century and build it into the training as it goes along.
Okay, great. So now I'm looking at it after the training, because what a lot of people, the fears a lot of people have brought up is the fact that the attitude and the approach of the SARS operatives in the manner in which they brandished weapons and all of that. What kind of weapons? Because a lot of people wonder why they carry AK-47 on the street, as against those kind of communication gadgets that you find police officers carry in other crimes. Have you prepared some specialized weapon and gadgets for them to use?
You see, we have a plan to, let me say in the first place, the AK-47 that they are talking about, as far as this era is concerned, I think we are satisfied with the way it is being used, and we have no intention at this material time to change the weapon that they are using. But with the changing trend of crimes in this century, we may consider the possibility of giving them new types of weapons that you said you have seen in other places. We have the intention of getting better equipment, but for now, we are going to continue with the AK-47, and we think AK-47 will serve the purpose for which our policemen are given the assignment to perform.
So because a lot of people wonder, and experts will tell you that seeing police officers carry guns on the street perhaps may not be needed. What is needed most of the time is intelligence and the communications to, in the first place, prevent the crime, and then you, of course, you use the weapon to run after criminals. One of the criticism is how police officers communicate. and the kind of manner in which they gather intelligence. Are you rethinking that architecture?
No, you see, you are absolutely right, because what is needed, if you go to advanced countries, you don't see policemen walking around with guns, because the technology is there. It is using guns, it will be the last resort. So we are on top of the situation, and issue of technology, we are going to tackle it, because these are things that Mr. President has given very clear directives for us to pursue, and we are on top of the situation. I want to assure Nigerians that issue of technology is of great concern to us, and we are going to address it squarely by the grace of God.
How soon can we be seeing these technologies that you're talking about?
Oh, very soon, very soon, very soon. You see, Mr. President has directed the setting of this police trust fund, because all these issues are related with paucity of funds, insufficient funding for the Nigerian police. And Mr. President has clearly noted this, and has set out machinery in motion to establish the police trust fund, which is already in place. And very soon, by the time their budget is approved, we will start to procure most of this equipment that we are talking about.
But quickly, before we go on our first break on the program, Minister, are all the new SWAT team members volunteers, or were any of them conscripted to join the force?
No. They are our policemen and the women in this country, and we selected them based on merit, and they are now undergoing the training.
So they are not volunteers?
It's based on a selection process. No volunteers at all.
They are not volunteers because, I mean, in some other climes, experts have said, look, volunteers tend to be better motivated, because that's one of the pitfalls or some of the problems of SARS. The selection process, a former IG had told us that there is corruption in part of the selection process. So volunteering is one of the models that experts say it could work. So there were no volunteers amidst the SWAT team members.
No, you see, what we have done is to ask the state police commissioners to select suitable candidates who will go for this training. Is based on so many factors. One, somebody has to be healthy to undergo the training. You have to be fit, and you have to be willing and ready to contribute a quota in the development of this country as far as this area is concerned. So it's not anything voluntary as such, but to consent of the participants is also of paramount importance to us, because they all know where they are going, and they have accepted to go for the training.
We've been talking about the SWAT, the new anti-robbery and the special squad that the IG had put together. And you have told us that they were put together through a selection process. So talk us through the psychological or the syllabus of training them, the psychological certification of the new SWAT team. The question is, will it be a new face? How does their syllabus look like? Talk us through.
You see, like I said earlier on, the syllabus are not anything different from what we used to train people of this kind of set, and so the syllabus are actually the same, but they are a reflection also of the 21st century. They are a reflection of what we have witnessed in the last few weeks. And they are intended to take cognizance of all these developments that we should learn from. And by the time they finish, we would expect them to be a better set of police officers who will be dealing with armed robbery in this country. What is most important is approach to situations. And we're giving greater attention to this issue of reorientation to ensure that they know what they are doing, and to ensure that they know what to do and the right way to do it. And on top of it all, what is important is the humility that is attached to it. As policemen, they are supposed to be humane. They are supposed to be as democratic as possible, as civil as possible. And these are some of the things that we are trying to impart in them in the course of the assignment they are expected to perform.
Another issue is the intelligence capacity. Did they go through any kind of tests, or they were just selected and thrown into that training? Intelligence capacity to respond to distress calls and training on when to shoot and the usage of weapons.
Now, don't forget, all the people who are selected are all conventional police officers who have undergone all this training process that you are talking about. They are aware of all these things, and we just thought we should take them to a more rigorous training that will put them through what we want them to do. But they are all conventional police officers who have gone through this rudimental training of using how to use their arms and ammunition, how to approach situations of that nature. I think we will not have any problem with that.
Will these SWAT team members, will they be on a special salary or a special wage? Because you are saddling them with special duties.
No, it's not like that. They are going to earn the usual salary scales that are being earned by every police officer. But we are aware that Mr. President has already directed that a new salary structure be put out for the police officers in this country to be commensurate with the duties they are performing. So it's going to be the same salary structure. The only difference is that every police officer is assigned to a different duty. And the duty they are performing is different from the others, but the salary is the same.
So who would they be answerable to directly? Will the new SWAT team operate under the direct control of the IG office, or will they be under the commissioners of police in the state commands?
No, they will be under the state commissioners of police in the commands they are operating. And from time to time, if need be, the Inspector General will be issuing out directives as to how they operate from time to time, depending on situations and patterns of crimes that are committed from day to day.
All right. Honorable Minister, because another issue on the table is on the manner in which the general reform is going to, because the SWAT team are just a segment of the entire police structure. Would there be any kind of retraining of other police officers? Because the issue of police brutality is not only limited to the SWAT, to the SAS members that were disbanded.
You see, this training and retraining is an ongoing exercise, and it cuts across all units of the police. So it is ongoing, and we will continue to do it, and we will continue to give it priority attention, particularly with the new police trust fund that has been in place. We are going to work out strategic training programs for all the police officers in this country. The idea is to ensure that they perform creditably and they excel to the limit of what we expect them to do. And the final intention is to ensure that we have a police that is, I would say, is within the confines of the law, and a police that is can be comparable to all police men and women across the globe.
All right, Honorable Minister, another very critical question. I understand that the new SWAT team currently undergoing training are all officers. When will the rank and file be recruited for the SWAT team?
No, I didn't say they are all officers. There are people from different ranks, and depending on the schedule you are performing, the ranks are not just from one rank. I think, well, they are fairly senior officers, and the intention is to continue the training and the recruitment as and when necessary.
How do you then
but
assure...
this kind of assignment, you need...
Go ahead,
You
please.
need mature and disciplined and very thorough officers who will perform it. And that's why we are selecting to ensure that we get credible people who will do the job.
What is the process of checks and balance within the SWAT structure? Because they say SARS started very well, but at the end of the day, things went wrong. How can you ensure or assure Nigerians that the issue of brutality that we saw in SARS will not return or come into the rank and file of the SWAT?
You see, what actually caused what happened previously was due to lack of supervision and due to lack of initiative on the part of the supervisors and Nigerians themselves. So what we have learned today, as far as these issues are concerned, is that Nigerians will be involved in the supervision and in the feedback mechanism of what they are doing. And state governments are also going to be reasonably involved in the supervision and interface with police in their various states. So we don't think this kind of thing is going to happen again because we have learned a lot of bitter lessons from what happened about 3 weeks ago. So everybody will be concerned about how police conduct themselves. And this is going to be a priority thing for us to ensure that not only SWATs, all policemen and women in this country perform within the limit of the law, within the expectations of what they are supposed to do.
With what we've seen now, you said the president has approved the change in the welfare orientation and the scheme of the Nigerian police force. So what is delaying the implementation of the welfare of the police?
Now, you see, that is in everything you do, there is a process. The stakeholders are there. We need to consult them. And I believe they have their own way of doing things. And they will do it. Let's give them a chance. And we are pursuing it. I believe they do some consultations. They take some statistics. And government also needs to know the cost implication of all these things. And since the Mr. President has given directives, these things are going to be implemented. All we need is the support, cooperation, and understanding of Nigerians to ensure that these things are done within the shortest possible time.
In your own, in a brief manner, Minister, can you talk us through the ingredients and the phases of the reforms that you've talked about? A lot of Nigerians are hearing the police reforms, but they do not really have an idea of how this is going to be. Talk us through the ingredients of the reforms.
You see, many Nigerians are talking about reforms of the police, and very few people know what is in the heart of Mr. President, what he is feeling about this policeman in this country, because very few people know that since as early as 2019, Mr. President signed into law the 2019 Police Trust Fund Act to see to the various reforms that we expect to implement in the police service in this country. And what is most important in reforming the police is the funding aspect of it. Police in this country have for long been underfunded. We have so many funding gaps, and there are a lot of things that need to be done which have not been done. I think Mr. President saw this a long time ago, and that is why he came up with this police trust fund. And I want to use this opportunity to thank the state governors, the 36 state governors and the FCT for supporting Mr. President and for giving all the needed support and cooperation to ensuring the smooth take-off of this police trust fund. The fund is already in place and monies have started accruing. Like I said, very soon, in a couple of days, the budget of the police trust fund will be approved and they will go into action as to what they are supposed to do. The priority things to do is, like you talked about, the technology and the equipment. We have given these priority attention, and the other issues are those of renovating building police stations, building residences of policemen and women, and ensuring that the necessary equipment that are needed for them to work effectively are provided to them. These are some of the reforms that we intend to do. Of course, there are others like the attitudinal orientation of the policemen in this country. There is also a need for making sure that the structure that we have on the ground is improved to make them more functional and more service-oriented. These are some of the things that we are talking about, and we are bankrolling all these things, and we want to ensure that police in this country are seen to be comparable to all other policemen that can be said to be performing effectively.
All right, Honorable Minister, to wrap up this conversation, I know Channel Television had a documentary some times ago about the training school and the state of the facilities and infrastructure at those training schools. On one hand, I'd like you to, in a few seconds, tell us, has anything changed in the last few months or years about those training schools? And on the other hand, is the morale of the Nigerian police officers in the wake of the event that we have seen where they were attacked and some police formations were burned?
Yes, you see, it is actually very demoralizing because somebody who is supposed to protect you and you turn around burning his offices, burning his houses, killing some policemen. It is very demoralizing. It is very unfortunate. But these things have happened. They are history. And like I said, we have learned a lot from them. But don't forget, we are not blaming anybody, but people, because we are blaming those who have taken over, who have hijacked these protests. Because the protesters started initially with very good intentions, with very clear motives of seeing to the improvement of services of the police in this country. But suddenly they have started, people who are talking about improving the police have turned out to be burning police stations and the rest of them. So you can see the contradiction. And that is why many Nigerians, and including those in the diaspora, have agreed that some people have taken over these protests in order to achieve their own ulterior motives. So, but you have seen the Inspector General of Police going around now. Among other things, he is there to encourage the police to continue to come out to perform their duties as they have been doing. And I think this is yielding positive results. So we are doing whatever we can to encourage the policemen and these women in this country to ensure that this doesn't distract them. The usual monitoring and evaluation and protecting of life and property that they're supposed to perform are continued in all parts of the country.
Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, thank you so much indeed for coming to tell Nigerians some of the plans in changing the face of what has become a worrying state of the Nigerian police force. Thank you so much. And we do hope that in the next few days or weeks, we shall be seeing those changes. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.